Oh,
Everyone, everything is up, running, clicked off. You know what? An attempt of keys being thrown at you right when you're about to go live. Which guy was it? We'll talk about that later. But good morning, everyone. This is Carol. Live with two
Sistas. Hey, everyone. This is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Today is Wellness Wednesday, and we'll chat about that toward the end of the podcast. But today we have an amazing guest on. So we want to welcome Pamela Meadows to the TwoSistas podcast family. Welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here with you both.
Wonderful. You know, we've had such an amazing outpouring of our guests coming on, and I'm always amazed at the bios, and I just, I read them quite a few times, and they always stand out to me because sometimes when we write our bios, it's hard to write about ourselves in the second, or I think it's the third person. See, I don't even know. But if you could just explain to us, obviously you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a certified coach. So give us a little bit more of your background, because I'm not doing your bio justice right at the moment.
Well, thank you. It is really tricky to write your bio, and it feels like you're tooting your own horn, which can be really unnatural for women. My additional piece, so certified coach, speaker, and now #1 bestselling author, which is so exciting. Also an executive at an Inc. 5000 company. So really trying to do it all and keep the balls in the air like most women are, was a journey for me that started with a lack of confidence and really kind of coming out of the gate in around 18, being ambitious and excited, and quickly being told that women shouldn't be quite as ambitious as I was, that it was perfectly acceptable to just sit in a admin role that I had, that I loved, and answer the phones and sort the mail and not more. It was such a confusing message to me, Janice, because at the same time, I watched male counterparts advocate for themselves and seek future roles and move up in the career. And so I spent a long time really lacking confidence in what was appropriate at work to ask for yourself. What it looked like and what it looks like for most women is saying yes to all of the assignments without the commensurate pay and title. When I began to work on my confidence and boundaries and what I was willing to tolerate and what I was not willing to tolerate, surprisingly, that's when my career accelerated, and I eventually moved into that vice president role that I have now.
Wow. Carol Sue, I know that, we often talk about, and I think we're having some freezing issues on her end. Can you hear us okay, Carol Sue? She's frozen right at the moment. She just sent me a text and said they just lost power. So I know that she'll try to hop on again. I know sometimes the weather in her area gets, very discombobulated. You mentioned some key things in there. And I think a lot of times as women, we lack the confidence, and with lacking the confidence, there's also that associated fear factor, which keeps us, I don't want to say stagnant, but sometimes it's really uncharted territory. And, you said that once you worked on your confidence, you were able to accelerate and, be where you are in the position of vice president in your company. Obviously, I'm assuming, although I don't like to assume, that maybe was initially a tough road.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just take a look at statistics. So I haven't made it to the C-suite yet. I do own my own company though, so I'll consider myself a CEO of that one. Statistically speaking, there are more CEOs named John than there are women CEOs. And the Fortune 500 companies, only 3% of those are CEOs. And if you were to go to any company that you really like and look at their About Us page, I guarantee you're going to see more males there in their leadership page than you do females. That's just the stats. So statistically speaking, getting to an executive leadership role for a female can be really challenging. And when you're lacking the confidence, it's another hurdle that you have to go through. So one of the reasons that I started coaching is because I wanted to meet women where they were and to give them the tools that they needed to gain that confidence, clarity, and communication skills, learning how to advocate for themselves, paying attention to the sort of drip, drip, drip moments that afford themselves in your career. For example, sitting at a boardroom full of men, maybe one other woman at the table. Oftentimes, I would be the one who was taking notes or presenting the screen and doing a very administrative task. I will always take notes. I have nothing against it. I'm an avid note taker. But I thought that was my role. And when I started to pay attention to folks who would say, hey, Pamela, what do you think? I started to transition, Janice, from saying, yeah, what you said was perfect, or you're really the expert here, I'll defer to you. And I started to decide not to abdicate that authority that I brought to that room. There's a reason we are invited to the room, and say, thank you so much for asking. Here's something additional that I was considering. But early in my career, and I think what I hear from so many women that I coach is that they're terrified to speak up in meetings. They're terrified to speak up in their marriage. They don't want to upset the balance of the marriage. They don't want to upset the balance of the boardroom. When you learn to look for those moments of entry into that conversation, whether it's in your marriage or in the boardroom, and you begin to advocate for yourself politely and with decorum or loudly if you need to, things begin to change, and you move from a position of playing small and quiet and humble to being fully present and authentic and who you are and bringing yourself fully into a conversation. Things changed. They changed for me in my marriage, and they changed for me in my corporate world.
And balancing all of that, I'm sure for a lot of women in that type of position, you just don't go from A to Z. I mean, there's a lot of work obviously involved with that. What are some type of, what's the word I'm looking for, tips or processes that you go through that maybe, you know, somebody struggling today that might listen or view the video of this can say, you know what, I'm going to try that. I think that might work.
Sure. I have so many because it's been a very long journey for me. You're absolutely right. It takes time to move from sort of our automatic programming and thoughts into something that allows us to be more actively choosing the thoughts that we have. But I just want to do a quick exercise with you, Janice, and the audience who's watching, if they want to participate. If you take a look at your office or the screen and just take like 1 minute to look around and see everything that you can see that's blue. So I'm going to give you a minute. Find everything blue on my screen, on your screen. Find everything blue in your office. You're looking for blue. Blue is what I really need you to pay attention to. Find all of the things blue. Okay, you got blue?
Mm-hmm.
Close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me what you saw that was red.
That was red?
Yeah.
I didn't notice red. I noticed blue.
Exactly. Open your eyes. What that exercise is just reminding you that when you are focused on the negative, I can't, I'm scared to speak up. Oh my gosh, look how I look in these clothes. I've gained so much weight. It's getting ready to be summertime. If I say this, that my husband's going to think I'm ungrateful. If I say this in a meeting, somebody's going to think I'm unintelligent. Those thoughts playing on loop, that's all we pay attention to. It's the blue, 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 blue. And we miss the red. We miss the opportunities. We miss the chance to say something that matters or to position ourselves in a different way. So for me, beginning to recognize those negative thoughts that creep into my mind and being able to call them out for what they were on the spot was a game-changing moment. The first thing I did to do that was something called erase the lies. I took a piece of paper, a pen, and a pencil. And in pencil, I wrote the lie I told about myself. I told myself about myself. So I'm not as educated as my peer group. I will never make it to a VP position. Underneath that in pen, I wrote 3 truths. I am capable of doing this job. I have the education I need to be successful. I can get more education if I need to. I have mentors who believe in me. And for 7 days, I read the lie and the 3 truths. On the 7th day, I erased the lie and I just began reading the truths. I got rid of that lie. And I would say, I'm capable, I'm competent, I can get educated if I need to. I have people who believe in me. And that starts to rewire and change those thoughts that automatically pop up into your brain. So that's one of the exercises that your group can do. Also, I would just say, really think about that blue, blue, blue exercise and call it to attention, because those negative thoughts, they're the first things we think of. We're human beings. We're wired to be worried and to think about fear and what's going to come and get us. That's just our biology. But if we start to recognize those, we can change our pattern.
You know, that was an amazing exercise, by the way, because when you asked that question, I was like, is this a trick? Not that it was a trick question, but you know, that is so true. But, and I think for women, I know for myself, and we've often chatted about this on the podcast, sometimes, well, a lot of times we do things because it's a normal habitual pattern, even though we know it may not be necessarily good for us or taking us in the right direction, but we do that activity because it's normal, and normal is convenient. So I guess what I'm trying to say with that is, in order to put our minds and ourselves in that, you know, doing that, the blue exercise, doing the exercise that you just walked us through, you know, about telling the lie and the truths, and doing that for 7 days. You know, we all have 7 days, you know, we all have the same 24 hours. And I think that's an amazing yet very effective way, like just to take that time for ourselves to do that. You know, when I look back, and we were chatting before we got on about the, you know, the history of the TwoSistas podcast, I can remember that first conversation I had with my sister, you know, it was in the midst of the pandemic, and oh, awesome, here she is again. I know she's been having so many issues this morning. And, you know, right in the time frame of the pandemic. And then, you know, we started TwoSistas, and then I said, hey, we should, you know, start a podcast. And it was, okay, yeah, that's great. You get everything up and running. And, you know, she hung up the phone, and I was like, okay, you know, what do I do? So there was that fear there, but we learn from that fear, hey, welcome back. We're so excited to have you back on.
Thank you.
And, you know, so starting that fear led Carol Sue and I to do different things. And, you know, here we are. This is episode number 436. So I think we're doing something pretty awesome here. But it just goes to show you, taking that fear. And Pamela, if you wouldn't mind, because I want to kind of get Carol Sue up to date with what we've been doing here, if you would take her through the exercise. I think it was a great exercise that Pamela just did with me, the blue exercise.
Sure. I'll take you through the exercise in 1 second. I want to pull on a string you just said, Janice, for a moment. I believe you said that what was normal was convenient. And the one thing that really resonates with me there is, I think of normal for women tends to be our bucket of shoulds, all the things we should do as a woman, as a mom, as a wife. And really what should has shown up to be for me is safe. So you said convenient and safe, right? I do all the things that I think I should, so that people perceive me in a way that I believe a woman is acceptable. When we start challenging the shoulds and confronting that fear and that comfort zone you were talking about, that's also another moment where things change for us. Carol Sue, if you're interested, I'm going to ask you to take a look at your sister's screen and my screen, and just look around your office. And what I really want you to focus on is to find everything blue that you can. So look in your office and at your sister's room and at my room, and I just really want you to find blue. Pay attention to all of the blue things. How many blue things do you see? What exactly are they? Where are they at? So you're looking for blue. You got the
Do you
blue.
want me to tell you? Do you want me to tell you where the blue is?
I want you to go ahead for a moment and just close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. Now tell me everything that you saw that was red.
To the would be my view which might be to your right or but for me, it's to your left on the wall. Again, your background's a little muted in the sense of clarity. It could be my screen, but to the wall to the left, there looks like blue, some sort of arrangement or something. You have bookshelves with some blue, could be dishes, could be objects. So all within your glass cabinets, there's some blue. And on the shelving, there's blue. In Jan's, there is not as much blue. I noticed more grays, but there's a little bit of blue. She's got a stack of books to her, I would believe it's to my left, her right. Again, depending on which way you're looking at the screen. Her walls are more of a gray tone, so I didn't see a lot of blue background in them. Behind me, there's two pictures that have blue in it.
Perfect. Open your eyes. So clearly you were focused on blue and you were very observant and you were able to identify all kinds of things in all of the offices, which was great. You were so focused on blue that when you closed your eyes, you missed my question, which was, what did you see that was red? It was a trick question, right?
Okay.
So the
tricked.
Yeah, and it's a trick for everyone. And but what you did actually shows a different element. So your sister was like, red, you asked me for blue. What's happening here? And the point of the exercise is when we are so focused on something, that's all that our mind sees. And we can't see the other things going on around us. And when you answered the question, it was correct and it was so observant. But it reminds me of when we're so focused on our belief system and our thoughts that we're not fully listening to or engaged with another person, that's how conflict arises. That's how things happen in our marriage, where I'm putting words and thoughts into my husband's mouth and his opinions, and he's doing the same to me. Or at work, there's a work conflict because this person just doesn't get it. And I'm listening to answer them instead of listening to learn. So in this exercise, we kind of saw two different results. One where we couldn't think of red because we were so focused on blue, and the other one where we didn't even hear the red aspect because we were so studious and we're going to answer on blue.
Interesting.
Yeah, she is very meticulous in how she describes things, where I'm more, I think, muted, but that's okay. But the point being that we observe and do different things out of behavior, and that was kind of a neat exercise. Different, very different for sure. Carol Sue, we'd love for you to chime in here. And
yeah, obviously I'm going to have to watch the recording because I didn't really know what you chatted about. I'll just go by the few things that I observed from what you were chatting about. I do believe that women do have a purpose, and they do tend to focus in on what they should do. But I do think that there's a lot of people out there that have truly been breaking that barrier. Maybe it was the force of, the forced pandemic that, was unpredicted, but forced meaning, now you're changed your dynamics of where you're working. Besides being that mom, now you're, and you were always a teacher, now you're a teacher in another way, because at one moment you're mom, the next thing you're Mrs. whoever, because they were homeschooled or remote learning. I do believe that the barriers have been busted down quite a bit. Do we have further to go? Absolutely. I would have to say, because probably our own mother, she had broke those barriers when we were growing up. So for me, I never fell into that gap of the role of, I would be the one that would push the limit, that would push the barrier of about self-care, even as a young person. I go back to a real simple conversation that I recently had with my adult daughter, and we were talking about skincare. And she says, Mom, at 64, like, I think I've got more wrinkles than you do. And I'm, 30, of course, I'm not going to remember her age, 37. I think it's 37, but whatever. And I said to her, well, what did I always tell you? when you were younger, I said, self-care always comes first, and, making sure that you're using good moisturizers or whatever, because you want to think of longevity down the road. She says, why didn't I listen to you back then? I said, because, sometimes we just don't listen. We don't listen to our mom or whatever. But I always showed her the value of self-care, whether it was mindset, whether it was, taking that time for yourself. Because in order to wear all those multiple hats that women tend to wear, men do too. So I don't want to leave men out of that equation. But self-care to either improve your skills if you're working outside the home and you want to climb that ladder, the corporate ladder, you are no less than a man. Are there barriers that you have to break? Absolutely. But I think women are doing a very good job of really breaking those barriers now. I see it in so many women entrepreneurs, so many authors, so many women getting out there and saying, hey, I can do it all. I want it all and I can do it all. Now, there's some women that don't have those same ambitions. That's what makes us all unique. So I don't want to discount that woman that she's okay with what she's supposed to do because that's her comfort zone. It may take her a long time to say, ooh, I do have some interest. I kind of, I swept under the carpet and didn't realize. And I hope through people such as yourselves and our podcast is really showcasing that whatever that journey is, whatever that goal is, whatever you strive to be, that you just got to have that healthy balance. But it's not selfish. And I think when I say old school, I'm talking, 40s, 50s, 60s, where that umbrella that they kind of put women under for the most part was, your place is barefoot, pregnant, and being in the kitchen. I think that has changed over the years. Is it to equal? Absolutely not. But, in this world, will anything be equal? I'm not really sure about that.
That's a really good perspective. Thank you. And the other thing with that too, like I had this conversation the other day with a potential guest that will be on in a couple months. And she had asked me a couple questions about starting a podcast. And what she said to me was, I'm just so afraid to do that. It's going to cost me a lot of money. I said, whoa, let's take a step back here. I said, we just started. Yeah, today is 436 episodes. But when we started, we had no idea what we were doing, quite honestly. But we had a message and what we wanted. And Carol, so please feel free to jump in here.
Sure.
We had a message that we wanted to show women that we don't know what we're doing. We don't have fancy equipment, but we have a solid message. Like we have a passion we want to share. And we often will, listen to our first couple episodes and I crack up because
I won't even listen to them. Because I think those will probably be on a bloopers reel. But I think the message as a whole is there are men that are also very insecure of getting out of their comfort zone. Maybe they want to talk about subjects that they feel from a male's perspective is taboo. And I think what we're seeing is, we always talk about this, that within the pandemic, there were many blessings. People focused on the negative, but there were many blessings that came out of that, which, maybe someone changed the whole direction of their career. Maybe they decided to, like you said, ooh, do I do a podcast? I've seen so many people that have had no, what I consider speaking and or guest speaking experience behind them, but just got off it. And I said, it's really not about being perfect. It's about just being raw and real, because that's what's relatable. I said, if you go out there and you pretend you're on a stage and you're got a teleprompter, yawn, boring, no one's going to listen to you. But as you can see, here's a perfect day where, one husband threw the keys and the other husband decided to turn the power off. It wasn't a power outage. So how do you deal with that when you're in the middle of a podcast? Well, you just jump back on. So I think that's the beauty of what our podcast features and shows, that if you've got something to share, something you're passionate about, obviously ours is rooted in health, wellness, fitness, and everything, all mindset. And that is why we have our 5 strategic days of the week of what we talk about. But at the end of the day, if your goal, if your passion is, just being that good mom, and you're fortunate and blessed to be that stay-at-home mom, and that's your job, because we know it's a job, and you do it to the fullest, and that's a blessing to you, and that's what you strive for, pat yourself on the back. If you are one that likes to do the juggling, the career, and that's your niche, and that's, your passion and your drive, pat on the back to you. If you want more, or you're searching, the fact that you've taken the first step, that first stepping stone to say, maybe I do want more. I haven't really thought about myself in that box. So I've got my box of my normal, my everyday life here, but is there something missing? Is there something more? The fact that you even thought about it, pat on the back to you. So there's all different pieces to who we are as human beings. And I love that people like you, Pamela, and other great entrepreneur women and men come out and they kind of share that, because that really shows you the different balance of people that are out there. But not only that, that everyone had to start from somewhere, right?
Yeah, everybody is somewhere. And I love what you're saying. And I completely agree with you that we all are put on this earth. And the fact that we're here, when you look at statistically being born, 1 in 400 trillion, I think is the number, it's a miracle. And we're put here with different purpose and different passion. And there is no purpose that's greater or less than the other. And I think it's really important that people know that, so they don't ever feel like they're not enough, when really they're living fully into the thing that they were made for. And that when they're ready to expand, if they want to, that's available to them too. I would like to challenge you a little on something, Carol Sue. I thought that was beautiful, the story you shared of teaching your daughter the importance of self-care and the idea of like putting on your own oxygen mask that we teach women. Not every woman gets that from their mother. Not every woman has a strong role model from a mother who's willing to say, let me show you. I'm not just going to say it with my words, take care of yourself. I'm going to show you. And that is so important. When I love working with younger women too, teenagers. I love doing programs with them, because as a teenager, I struggled. I had a really challenging home life, and I struggled for a long time with an eating disorder. And I look at the statistics now, even today, 92% of our female teenagers want to change something about the way they look.
I would take a step further, that they want to change in other ways. That is really, for me, is a passion that I've really been striving to get to the message out. I think we've expanded on, as you say, the eating disorder. They're not happy. And I think, sadly, the downside of social media is really played into that in all aspects of a young girl. And it's frightening. It is frightening of what's going on. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, that there's a lot of young women that don't have that solid role model. Or maybe it's a broken home, maybe, for whatever reason. And then they turn to their devices. And, the old saying, things look greener on the other side. It's an old-fashioned cliche statement, but that really validates social media to a certain degree. And they're looking for these influencers because they're so sad. And I think if that's one of your messages, that's amazing, because it really has to be talked about.
Well, yeah, and we have to address it young, right? Like, I work with women because I want them to gain the confidence and clarity and communication skills they need, but it starts so much younger. So the more we could pour into our young folks, the less they'll need a coach to help them with confidence in the future. And wouldn't that be great? And I think through, maybe you have a wonderful home, but your peer group still influences you. Social media is influencing you. People, men and women, cannot recognize, 60% of the time, we cannot recognize when a photo has been edited. 60% of the time, our young females and women my age are looking at an image of somebody thinking, I wish I just looked like that, having no idea that that person doesn't look like that. And that's what's being put into them. So back to the idea of our automatic negative thoughts and how we start challenging them, and why it's so important to do things like the erase the lies that I told you about, Janice, is because what we're allowing ourselves from a young age, and even I can feel like I can get influenced if I'm not careful at almost 40, is creating patterns of, I don't look like that. I'm not enough. I don't have the perfect children who are super tidy and speaking Spanish at 2, and my kids are sticking Legos up their nose. And we start comparing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And it's this awful trap, and it allows this negative loop of thoughts stuck in our head. And that's the blue, 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 when there's beautiful red all around us. The quicker we can start addressing this with young people, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and on, the more joy and peace we'll find with who we are, where we are right now in this moment. And that's so important.
I think that's adds so much value. And I think people, they're hard on themselves for multiple reasons. Obviously, with social media, that is, it's a factor that we have to deal with now. We are, 20 years ago, you didn't have so much of that. Now it's, where is this person going? Oh my God, they live they're living this best life. But many people like you said, portray one way on social media. Entrepreneurs do that. It's a natural thing to do. But at the same time, I think what's really resonating more with people is, the flub ups, the bloopers of life, the bloopers of, oh, I got to get on and, I forgot to put a little makeup on. Oh, well, or, your hair's thrown up and you're just coming off from, working out, or, I've got this interview and, I didn't put on my, my business attire or whatever it may be. That's just showing life, and life is messy. But it's also messy in such a way, such a beautiful way. And we always say that we are all imperfectly perfect. That way you really grasp that piece to it. But I think, like you said, there's just, it starts at a young age, what they're being influenced by, who they are kind of locking arms with, and they just don't have the confidence and or security in some regards to, say, no, I don't want to be like that. I want to be me, flawed and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to go against the grain when you're younger and you don't have that strength and fortitude in yourself just yet. I go back to self-care isn't selfish. I just think that we should frame that and print it out and tattoo it on our bodies, because it was about 2 years ago. I was sitting in a sermon, and one of the things that the pastor said is that self-care, this idea, this whole movement around self-love and self-care, it's very selfish in its nature. And it was hard. That was a hard one for me, because I have to believe that taking care of yourself and honoring who you are is a honor to your higher power, whatever.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
And I just want women to know, and men, taking care of yourself, if you don't do it, who's going to? And if you can't take care of your mind and this one body you're given, what are the end results you're expecting? Because it's probably not going to be what you want. So you have to feed your mind and you have to feed your body in a way that allows you to be that self that you want to be in your 5 years or 10 years.
That is so true.
And Jan, don't you think that changes too? We talk about that a lot, that as you get to that next decade, every decade you go, your perspective changes drastically. And we always say that every 7 years, your body, your mind, your hormones, everything just keeps going through these changes. And the reflection, as you get to that next decade, reflection of where you just came from, the decade, the season, however you want to word it. In our case, we call it the decade, because they keep changing quite quickly. You do things, you look at things in such a different light that it's really even hard to express to someone that's younger that, oh, you're not going to think the same way as 15 to 25 to 35 to 45 to 55 to 65 and on up. Your reflection in the mirror changes. Well, guess what? The reflection of your life changes with the seasons as you continually add to those seasons. And all we can hope is that our message impacts people in such a way that will inspire them to be the best version of themselves for every season of themselves. What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, that is so true. Obviously, a big event is happening next month other than our niece's wedding. I am going to be turning 60, yikes. And, you know, I had a great conversation with some Girl Scouts the other day. I was walking out of Stop and Shop, and of course they asked me, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? And I just, you know, I remember when I was a Girl Scout, and, you know, started having a great conversation with them. And I said, hey, you know, I'm going to give you a little history about Girl Scout cookies. And they were so intently listening. And, you know, I just loved chatting with them. And I said, hey, when I sold Girl Scout cookies, they were a quarter a box. Then they went up to 50 cents and everyone was like, oh, geez, you know, all right, 50 cents for a box of cookies. When it went up to 75 cents a box, everybody flipped out. And they were like, really, what happened? I said, well, people still bought them, but that just goes to show you, you know, some of the boxes were $5 and $6. That's, you know, that's part of the history of all that, you know. And obviously for me walking out, you know, knowing, I was thinking, okay, you know, I've got the wedding coming up, my birthday, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw the Girl Scout cookies. So, you know, what do certain emotions invoke in someone that, you know, bring us back to where we were, where we want to be, and maybe where we're going. So
did you tell them they didn't have all those flavors either?
yeah, it was just, I think it was just I want to say Thin Mints and one other.
It was
Like-
that shortbread, I think. I think those were the shortbread, the Thin Mints. I think now we're getting off on cookies. I think tagalongs came on a little bit later. I think it was the peanut butter ones. I don't know. I'll have to Google that.
We're kind of outdating ourselves here. You know, maybe we should do a history day on that, because you know, we all know how nerdy I am with history stuff. Anyways, Pamela, tell us how our viewers and listeners can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. You can find me at my website, PamelaMeadows.com. I am always doing something very shenaniganish on Instagram. So at Pamela Meadows Optimist, you'll find me there. I do have a Facebook account, not as active on it as I should be. So Instagram or my website is the best place. And I'm constantly, every few months, I run programs for women. So if they're interested in joining a program, they can check out that on my website and email me, hit me up. I'm happy to talk to folks.
That is wonderful. Carol Sue, did you think that maybe Pamela would be doing some kind of shenanigans?
Yeah.
No.
She looks too sweet to be doing
And
shenanigans.
she's, very, very sweet. And you do not look your age. You're gonna be 40. I was guessing she was, and I'm a terrible person at guessing ages anyways, but I was thinking you were like early 30s.
Oh, well, thank you. And I will send you a check later. SelfCare, good skincare routine.
Absolutely. I am telling you, people, they think I'm a little kooky with that, because I do remember, I think my first experience into face care was probably when I went to a mall. I want to say it was like 13 or 14 years old, I believe. And it was just like, you know, the free trials of something. I think it was at G Fox, if I remember correctly, in Hartford, Connecticut. And I remember our Aunt Patty always saying, you always want to take care of your skin and you always want to spend the money on the bra. Good bra. She always told me that. And that's when I learned, this is something about nothing, but really about something. One of the questions comes up with, obviously, naturally, as you age and gravity takes over. I've had one of those weird compliments where yours don't seem so droopy. What is your secret? I said, I sleep with a bra on. I only allow myself one time. Oh, and when I say it's more like a sports bra, I allow myself one, maybe 2 times a week without, but I always sleep with a sports bra. So I'm just thinking, okay. I'm helping the whole gravity issue. That's what I'm doing.
I'll try it. It's worth it.
Gravity be gone. And Pamela, we want to thank you so much for being on today. We can't wait to have you back at some point. We hope that you will definitely consider that. And I am going to turn it over to Carol Sue to talk about Wealth Wellness Wednesday before we close out the podcast.
Absolutely. Wellness Wednesday is one of our favorite days of the week. It is the day that we really understand and embrace, especially in the entrepreneurial world, the confidence and understanding that you have that healthy relationship with money, which doesn't matter whether you're an entrepreneur or not, right? The more money you make, the more you can impact others. Wouldn't it be great that you could, oh my God, my church needs this, or my community center needs that, and you just write that check out? Well, it starts with mindset. Add some kindness to it. You are going to put that out in the universe, and you're going to see different things happening in the way that you treat money and the way that you think of money. So Wealth Wellness Wednesday is all about paying it forward, but it's not paying it forward with your normal charity. If you contribute to charities, it's not to your church. It is to an unsuspecting person. And how do you go about doing that? Many ways. Sometimes it's at the gas station. Sometimes it may be if you're in a drive-through. And you know how I feel about drive-throughs. Hopefully it's a healthy drive-through. Maybe it's you're on the highway and you actually are at a highway that actually still takes cash for a toll. You pay for the person behind you. Maybe you're in a grocery store and it just happened to be that you start noticing a lot of moms around. And you know what moms are doing with young children, right? They're in the diaper aisle. They may be in the formula aisle, and we know formula is on the rise, just like all food is right now. Maybe you're in the produce section. Maybe you're in the pet food section, because for a lot of people, pets are like their children. So wouldn't it be wonderful if they could open up that package, that box, and you snuck in a bill? Now, it's not about the dollar amount. That's the key piece. It's the action. So if it's $1, that is fine. If it's $5, wonderful. Whatever you feel like giving, you're going to sneak it in there. Now, sometimes, see if I've got one of my cards here. Sometimes I will take a card and I will actually put a bill in it, and I'll put a little note, because what is the whole piece to this is gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. So now you've taken that. You don't know who you're going to impact. Maybe it's someone that's struggling to buy that 1 gallon of gasoline. Maybe it's a young mom that needs to defer the cost of her formula or provide milk and bread. Maybe it's a person that absolutely loves animals and they're finding the high cost of cat food that they're really only buying a few cans at a time, whatever it may be. The point is that you're paying it forward, and that's going to release these amazing endorphins. And guess what? They're going to feel really good about it, and they're going to do the same. They're going to pass it on to somebody else. So it's a whole mindset thing. It's nothing to do about the actual dollar amount. So I want to make sure that everyone is clear on that. It's the actual act. And with that, you're paying, and you're getting on the kindness train of paying it forward to other people that you may just change their day that day. You never know. So favorite day of the week. I absolutely love that. And with that, we are super excited. We had a great conversation with Pamela. She gave you some great tips and really great insight is to really thinking where you want to be and how you can expand that. We will provide that information under this particular podcast. My name is Carol Sue, AKA Naughty Boss, live with
TwoSistas. Hey everyone, it's Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0, soon to be 60 in about a month or so. Oh wow.
So do we get to call you 6.0 then?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to upgrade myself. Pamela, thank you so much again. It was our pleasure having you on. Everyone, have a marvelous day, and we will see you tomorrow for Trending Thursday. And we've got something about something, nothing about nothing, and a whole lot more of that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.